Story time about how my best friend waxed off my eyebrow in my sleep, so I cut her hair. So a little background information. I was 14 and in 8th grade, and my best friends and I were having a sleepover. And right before we had went to sleep, we were all talking about this one TikTok trend that was going around. It's like this trend where girls would go and put wax on their boyfriends while they were sleeping and then take it off. Well, I didn't think anything of it, so that night I went to sleep. I should have knew this was gonna happen because I'm always the butt of the joke whenever it comes to our friend group. Like, I'm always the one getting picked on. Like, there was this one thing that my friend Ashley saw online. It was like, if you put white nail polish on your teeth, it would make your teeth whiter. So who did they decide to try it out on? Yup, me. And yes, I could have said no, but these were my best friends. I didn't think that they would intentionally hurt me. Anyway, so like I said, I go to sleep and all of a sudden I wake up in the middle of the night to something very, very, very hot on my face. I open my eyes and all of my friends are standing above me with their flashlights on. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my best friend waxed off my eyebrow while I was asleep, so I cut her hair. So like I said, went to sleep, didn't think anything was gonna happen, and then I wake up and all of them are standing above me with their flashlights on. And then I realized that Ashley has a stick in her hand. Once I realized that there was wax on the other end of the stick, I started screaming. So then Kelsey decides to cover my mouth. She's like, shh, it's not that bad, I promise, like, don't worry. I get up real quick, I run to the bathroom, and there's like this pink transparent wax on my eyebrow. It was about 3 a.m. and we're all sitting there trying to find ways to get this wax off of my fucking eyebrow. Well, then Amber goes, I'm tired of this, grabs it and rips it off my forehead. So I'm crying at this point. Like, I'm in 8th grade, I'm about to have my glow up, and y'all gotta ruin it with taking my eyebrow off. So nobody went to sleep for the rest of the night because they thought that I was gonna do something to them. So I acted all cool. I was like, no, it's fine, I can just draw it on. When in reality, I was going to cut this bitch's hair. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how my best friend waxed off my eyebrow in my sleep, so I cut her hair. So like I said, nobody went to sleep for the rest of the night. I acted like it was okay because I was plotting in my head that I was going to cut one of their fucking ponytails off. So I go over to their house next week, and every single day that week they were telling me how good my drawn-on eyebrow looked. It didn't actually look good, and none of my hairs were growing back. So around 12 o'clock, all of us are ready to go to bed. I'm laying down, pretending that I'm sleeping, and they think I'm sleeping, so they're over there talking shit about me on her bed, Ashley's bed. I wasn't sure which one's eyebrow I should rip off because the one ripped off my eyebrow, but then the other one put the wax on my eyebrow. They were like, she's sleeping. I don't think she's gonna do anything. She doesn't even have the balls to do anything. So around 4 in the morning, everybody is dead asleep. I get up, and Ashley had her hair in a ponytail. So that was easy enough. I grabbed a pair of scissors out of my book bag, and I cut her hair off.
Am I the asshole for exposing the true paternity of my friend's son at her family gathering? This sounds so bad, I know, and I am mortified, but I have no idea what I was doing. I, 40 female, was invited to stop by and see one of my dearest friends from childhood at her mother's home yesterday evening. She lives overseas and hadn't been in the States for years, so she wanted me to stop by even though they had other family visiting her mother as well. When I got there, my friend introduced me to a couple of her cousins and their husbands. At that point, all the kids were downstairs in the playroom, but she called her son to come up so I could meet him. Her son came and shook my hand, and I remarked how handsome he was. He has deep dimples and gorgeous hazel eyes with long lashes. Right behind him was a girl about the same age with the same eyes and dimpled. I said to my friend, "Oh, I didn't know you had a daughter too. You two look like twins." The room was suddenly quiet. My friend's son corrected me and said the girl is his cousin, not his sister. My friend was shooting daggers at me with her eyes as if I said something terrible, and her cousin, who I later find out was the mother of the girl, got up and left the room looking upset. Only this afternoon, when my friend's younger sister called, did I find out why. So apparently my friend had an affair with her cousin's husband. So apparently my friend had an affair with her cousin's husband when she lived with them briefly, and her son is a product of that affair. From what I was just told, she won't admit it, but everyone has suspected it because the older her son gets, the more he looks like the man. I honestly didn't notice the resemblance last night because the husband had just given me a quick wave from the far side of the room where he was watching a game. The reason the cousin, his wife, got upset and left the room is because she suspected something for years, but everyone has worked hard at convincing her she's paranoid and seeing a resemblance that's not there. So, I'm the asshole in the scenario now and ruin everyone's Christmas, or at least that's how it seems because my friend won't even return my calls or texts. No, I would hate to be in that cousin situation. Like, you're getting gaslit from everyone in your family. That is not true family. Like, you made a mistake, these people have to own up to it, but instead they're just hiding it under the carpet, so definitely not the asshole.
Story time about how I dumped my girlfriend when I found out she had cancer. Am I the bad guy? My girlfriend and I have dated for almost 7 years. In that time, she always wanted to get married, but I never really felt married, so I never proposed. 2 years ago, I started feeling ready and I decided to buy a ring. But unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer. She ended up having to stay in the hospital for a few months and underwent a bunch of therapy. All the treatments and everything were making her lose her hair, and I pretty much became totally unattracted to her. I know this sounds so harsh, but it's the truth. I struggled every single day as I fell out of love with her. And I talked to my mom about this. She told me to just have patience and to stick it out. But I just could not do it. I also didn't want to deal with having to take her to the hospital and helping her with the medication and helping her with the treatments. I wanted my own life. And suddenly I found myself having to drive her everywhere, feed her, clothe her, basically do everything for her. After a while, I asked her mom to move in with us to help me out. And this is when stuff started getting really bad. Her mom was basically taking care of her 24/7, so I pretty much did whatever I wanted. I would go out with my friends, and I even started dating other girls. Here's the thing. My girlfriend and her family have a lot of money, so I basically didn't have to work at all while I was with her. Her parents paid for our rent and pretty much everything we ever did, so I couldn't really break up with her. Part 2 is up. Storytime about how I dumped my girlfriend when she got cancer. Am I the bad guy? My girlfriend's parents paid for our rent and pretty much everything we did. And of course, at the time, I didn't really want to get a job, so I really only stayed in the relationship for the money. Like I said in part 1, my girlfriend's mom moved in with us to help me take care of her, but I pretty much took advantage and decided to start dating other people. I downloaded every dating app I could think of, and I would go on dates every single day. I lied to my girlfriend and her mom and told them that I got a new job. This way I could pretty much stay out all day. So I found myself with all of this new freedom. Would go on dates and pay for everything with my girlfriend's money. I know you guys probably hate me right now, but it gets worse. After a few weeks, I ended up with 2 new girlfriends. So in total, I had 3 girlfriends. And I got really good at lying to each one and spending time with them. I'd see one of them every single morning and I would tell her that I was going to go to work. But then I would really go to the other girlfriend's house and spend the afternoon with her. And then I would end up going back to my apartment where my original girlfriend lived. And I would spend the rest of the night with her. At this point, she was starting to feel better with all the treatments, but I was just not attracted to her anymore. Part 3 is up. Storytime about how I dumped my girlfriend when she got cancer. Am I the asshole? So at this point, I had 3 girlfriends at the same time, and I was getting really good at lying to them. But since I really didn't have a job and I only used my girlfriend's money to survive, I needed to stay with her. I just didn't find myself attracted to her at all anymore. So I decided to be honest with her and I told her that I wasn't attracted to her, just to see how she would react. She didn't even get mad. She just started to cry and beg me not to leave her. That's when she told me that she didn't want to be alone. But at that point, I just couldn't do it anymore. I was falling in love with my other girlfriends. Here's what I did. I went to my other 2 girlfriends and told them a new story. I told them that I got fired from my new job and that I needed a place to move in. I also told them that I wouldn't be able to afford rent. One of them basically kicked me out of her apartment, but the other one told me that I could stay with her for as long as I wanted to without having to pay for rent. So that's the girl that I went with. Then I went to my OG girlfriend's house and I told her that I just couldn't be with her anymore and that I had fallen for someone else. This broke her heart and her dad was really close to kicking my ass. They took all my credit cards and cut me out of her account. So I'm broke as hell right now, but at least I'm happier. Eventually I'm gonna have to get an actual job, so I'm still trying to figure that out. But my current girlfriend is paying for everything. And my ex is in remission now, which actually does make me happy for her. I'm about to get murdered in the comments, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Hi, I'm Nicole from Canada. Please like and subscribe because MSA will give $1,000 to one lucky person who subscribes in the next 7 days. My parents are both successful lawyers who graduated at the top of every class ever. University, school, and probably preschool. Education was everything to them. It was so important that they had me registered in a really fancy school before I was even born, because it had a long waiting list. Before I started, my parents wanted to make sure I knew all the basics. A is for astronaut, and
Butterbug! Look, Mommy! I made a butterbug!
that's a butterfly with a B. Why is it so hard for you, Nicole? From the moment I joined kindergarten, I hated school. I couldn't sit still and focus on the lessons like the other kids, and it was so dumb that we couldn't talk to each other in class. Even when I silently sent paper airplanes to my friends, it made the teachers mad. They started making me sit outside the class often, and I loved it because I would draw in peace. It was the only thing I wanted to do. Once in 4th grade, my math teacher, Mrs. Mueller, was going on and on about frickin' fractions, and I started doodling. I drew her in my notebook with a horse's head on top of her body. It was so funny, I giggled. And the next second, she was glaring down at me. Are you drawing in my class, Nicole? What's this? A horse's head on a woman's body? That's so stupid.
I think it's you, Mrs. Mueller.
The whole class burst out laughing. I was immediately sent to the principal's office, and my parents were called in. My teachers had tons of complaints, but my parents wouldn't hear it. This is ridiculous. Nicole is probably bored because the teachers are boring. It's their fault. Well, it turns out it was my fault because I left that school and went to 3 others, but I wasn't doing much better. And when it was time for high school, my parents decided to send me to a normal one. Why spend money on a fancy school when you don't even care? You want to waste your time drawing? Fine by us. I felt bad for letting them down, but I was relieved I was going to an easier school now. On the first day at recess, I just sat down at an empty table when suddenly someone grabbed my arm. I looked up to see a girl with purple hair. Get up, punk. This table's mine. Maybe we can share it. Can't you see? There just isn't enough space for my friends. You're sitting in Luna's spot. Who's Luna and where is she? She's standing right next to you, dummy. I couldn't see anyone next to me. Was she crazy? I left the table, and as I was walking away, I saw her take out a chocolate bar and start eating it with a knife and fork while she talked to her imaginary friends. Just then, I heard someone call my name, and I turned to see Darren. He was Dad's best friend's son, and I had no idea he was at the same school. I joined him at his table and asked him about the purple-haired girl. Ella? She is trouble. Apparently, she's been to juvie twice. I don't even know why she comes to school. She's never been to class. Such a weirdo. Just stay away from her. Darren and I were in different classes, but we started hanging out whenever we could, and I was really glad to have a friend here. A few days later, I was sitting out on the bleachers and drawing when suddenly I heard Ella screaming in a megaphone at the football team. You guys suck. My grandma can play better than you, and she's dead. Why don't you let me play with you, huh?
Oh, do I scare you, you little scaredy cats? Afraid to get beaten by a girl?
Shut up, Ella. Unless you want to be a cheerleader, just buzz off. All the boys laughed and went back to practice. Suddenly, Ella dashed onto the field, grabbed the ball, and ran away. The whole team started shouting and running after her. One boy caught up to her and pushed her to the ground, and I jumped up as the two struggled over the ball. Hey, knock it off! Don't hurt her! I pulled the boy away and helped her up, and she instantly kicked him in the knees. He was about to attack her when the coach arrived on the scene and the boys left grumbling. I could have handled that myself. Oh, I'm sure you're a superhero who could have fought 10 boys alone. Or were your imaginary friends gonna help you? She looked at me and suddenly burst out laughing. I have 3 stupid foster brothers, so I know how to deal with boys. Also, I don't have imaginary friends. People think I'm weird, so I act weird. She sat down on the bleachers and suddenly noticed my sketchbook. You drew this? Yeah, drawing's the only thing I love. I hate attending classes. Me too. How about you don't go to class and we'll draw each other? I gave her a paper and some pencils, and we sat there drawing for a while, our shoes touching. As I looked at her closely, I realized she was actually beautiful. When we exchanged our sketches, I burst out laughing. She just made a stick figure. Yeah, I lied. I can't draw. But wow, Nicole, you're amazing. I love it. I was so happy to hear that. But just then the bell rang and I had to go. We agreed to meet at the same spot the next day. As I was walking down the hallway, Darren caught up with me. Hey, what are you doing with Ella? I told you, she's bad news. I don't think she is, Darren. Maybe you shouldn't believe everything people say. Listen, I'm just looking out for you because you're my friend. Don't hang out with her, okay? He was starting to annoy me a little. If I wanted to hang out with Ella, I was gonna. So I kept coming up with excuses to ditch him and see Ella after school. And each day with her was an adventure. She showed me the best viewpoint of the city, and we went swimming in a gorgeous lake. We also had some of the fanciest free food in town because Ella was friends with the chef. One afternoon, Ella took me to some house and told me to hide in the bushes. Then she took off her backpack, which was full of rocks, and started hurling them at the windows. Oh my God, what are you doing? That's my last foster mom's house, and she's horrible. You gonna help me or not? Without another thought, I started picking up rocks and throwing them too. Just then, someone spotted us and started yelling. I grabbed Nicole's arm. Time to run! We ran like crazy till we left the house far behind, and we collapsed on the ground laughing. We lay on the grass for hours, and Ella told me about all the foster homes she'd been in. My current foster parents aren't great either. They hardly do anything for me. If I need new clothes, I have to shoplift them. It's why I've been to juvie twice now. Wow, that sounds tough. It's okay. I'll be out of here someday, and I'll do something amazing with my life. But for now, I'm really glad I found a friend. She pressed my hand gently, and I felt all warm inside. Later that night when I got home, I almost screamed to find Darren in my room. Jeez, you scared me. Why are you here? Why were you not here? You've been hanging out with that weirdo, haven't you? Darren, it's none of your business. Don't be mad at me. You know I only care. Yeah, so I'm fine, right? Happy? Now please, go away. I practically pushed him out of my window. This boy was getting on my nerves. And the next day when I met Ella outside of school, Darren appeared out of nowhere and said he was coming along. Nicole, why did you bring this extra package with you? I didn't. I don't want her to be alone with you, weirdo. Are you her watchdog? You sure smell like one. I'm her boyfriend. Nicole, I've been looking for the right time to say this. I know you like me too. And with that, he suddenly kissed me. I instantly pushed him away. Are you crazy? Why would you think you're my boyfriend? Just stay away from me, loser. We were walking off when suddenly he grabbed my hand and then Ella punched him in the face. We left him crying in pain on the ground. I didn't know what Ella had in store that day, but soon I realized where we were. Isn't this Principal Trent's house? Yeah, girl. Now tell me, how much do you hate him? A lot. Everybody does. But what are you planning to do, Ella? I thought we could be creative. You can draw whatever you want with this spray paint, my artist friend. I tried to talk her out of it, but she wasn't listening. She started without me, and it did look like a lot of fun. I joined in, and we both went crazy on the walls. Wow, what a thrill. This was so much fun, Ella. You are so much fun. She smiled at me, and she looked so lovely in the moonlight. Feeling impulsive, I leaned forward and kissed her. Then realizing what I'd just done, I pulled away. What was that? I'm so sorry. I don't know why I kissed you. No, I mean, why did you stop? She liked it? I pulled her close and kissed her again. It was the most amazing night. But the next day at school, I got a huge shock. I was called into the principal's office, and my parents were already there. And I was suspended for a month for spray painting his house. He had a video of me and Ella in action. If it wasn't for Darren who gave me this video, I would have never had the proof to expel Ella. Darren had followed us? Wait, Ella is expelled? Yeah, she's been a problem since forever. You're lucky you're only suspended. I'm going easy on you because I know she's such a bad influence. I got such a scolding from my parents, but all I could think about was Ella. Just when I was thinking of sneaking out to see her, I heard a tap on my window and Ella jumped in. Gosh, I'm so sorry you got expelled. Never mind that. Listen, my foster parents are kicking me out, and I'm gonna be sent to some other home far away. Ella, you can stay with me. No, I can't. I'm running away, and I want you to come with me. What? Just think about it. We'll never have to go to school. You can draw all day, and Ella, I can't just leave. I have my family here, but I don't have anything here. Nicole, why can't you just do this for me? I care about you so much, but I just can't. Just then we heard Mom's voice by my door, and Ella pushed me away and left. Mom came in to talk to me, and by the time she left, Ella was long gone. What if she couldn't find anywhere to go and ended up homeless on the streets? Without any hesitation, I sneaked out to the nearest police station. My friend ran away from her foster home, but she has no money. Do you have a shelter that can take her? She has long purple hair. I gave the police all the information I could about Ella so they could help her. They assured me that they'd keep me updated. But before they could, someone turned up at my doorstep the next day. Darren, what are you doing here, jerk? I thought you might not have heard the news yet. Ella got arrested. What? Why? Apparently, someone reported her missing to the police, and when they found her, she had a bunch of stolen money and clothes in her bag. I told you that chick was trouble. It was stupid of you to reject me and go around kissing that weirdo. I couldn't stand him anymore, and I gave him a hard slap. You never had a chance with me, Darren, because you're a creep. I slammed the door shut, but I could hardly believe it. Ella had been arrested because I'd reported her. She would never forgive me, and I'd never see her again. Seeing how miserable I was, my parents went easy on me, and I barely came out of my room the month I was suspended. But then one night, I suddenly got a text message from Ella. Sorry I've been missing. It turns out someone told the police my whole situation, and they're finding me a nice family for adoption. No more foster homes. And I know that someone was you, Nicole. Thank you. Can't wait to see you again. I saw Ella after a month at her new home, and she looked really happy. She lived an hour away from me, but I took a bus to see her on the weekends. And by the end of high school, I had hundreds of drawings of Ella. After graduation, I went to my parents with an admission letter to an amazing art school. I'd gotten in on full scholarship. I know you guys are disappointed that I'm not like you, but this is what makes me happy. Don't you want me to be happy? And suddenly my parents hugged me. Of course we do, Nicole. Your happiness means the most to us. We're sorry we haven't said that before. We're really proud of your talent, honey. And we love you. I love you guys too.
Am I the a-hole for exposing my best friend's photos? Hi, my name is Tiffany and I'm currently 16 years old in high school. So when I was a freshman, I was a complete total loser, but when sophomore year came, I slowly started becoming one of the popular girls in school. Every boy wanted me, but I declined. But somehow I met this girl Eden along the way. We were at a party and she was just staring at me the entire time until she walked up to me and asked me to be friends. She gave me really weird, shady vibes, but I decided to accept her as my friend anyways. Me and her clicked well for whatever reason, and we had so many similarities, but it also seemed kind of plain and like she was just saying she had those things in common for whatever reason. But anyways, I let it slide, but I noticed that she dressed like me over time. When I first met her, she looked pretty plain. It looked like her mother dressed her, but I bought clothes at Forever 21. Slowly, she started doing the same and dressing her hair like mine and wearing makeup like me. It was kind of weird. But one day, there were flowers left at my locker, and there was a note as well, and I wondered who it was from. Am I the a-hole for exposing my best friend's photos? Part 2. So there was actually flowers on my locker and I was wondering who it was. And it was from the hottest guy in school, Kyle. Kyle was the quarterback of the football team. He also participated in lacrosse and soccer. He was just amazing and so sweet and what every girl wanted. And the fact that he was asking me out, amazing. So I decided to accept his proposal and go out with him. The first 2 months was a dream, but around the third month, he would start becoming controlling and abusive, verbally and physically. He would want to control what I wore in front of his parents and sometimes at parties, saying how I looked like a blank. I tried confronting him on this problem, but he said if I had a problem with it, I could just break up with him, but I obviously didn't want to do that because I thought that I loved him. So one time, we were just sitting at the park and I noticed his phone was buzzing a lot. I asked him who it was and he said it was probably his dad or something like that, which sounded unusual, so I decided to do a bit of investigating. Am I the a-hole for exposing my best friend's photos? Part 3. So I decided to investigate his phone a little bit. I kid you not, I saw so many photos, so many, about like 50, from all different kinds of genders. Inappropriate photos, if you know what I mean. But they were all faceless. But there was this one feminine body who wore red lingerie with glitter on it. And I couldn't figure out who it was, but she was definitely a pattern in his phone. I didn't say anything to him about it. After that, I had left and cried and went home and I called Eden over. I told Eden everything and she just looked in shock. She told me how horrible this was and that I shouldn't have to go through that. She basically comforted me the entire time. So weeks went by and it was my birthday. I had obviously broken up with Kyle, but Kyle was talking about getting back with me, so I assumed, he changed and our relationship would progress. But one of my friends had told me that Eden had been hooking up with him behind my back, and I asked for proof. As I did that, Eden walked in. Am I the a-hole for exposing my best friend's photos? Part 2. I confronted Eden about this and she said she was lying. I asked my other friend for proof and she showed me. There was a video and multiple pictures. I can't disclaim because of TikTok, but it's on my YouTube channel now. After that, I exposed the video and photos all over school. Am I in the wrong or did I serve myself justice? Let this girl in the comments know down below. Make sure to follow for more story times. My own mother tried to blank me off to a blank ring. Hi, my name is Sierra and I'm 18 years old. I was around 13 when this had happened. My mom shouldn't have been a mom. She would always bring around toxic boyfriends that were physically blank and verbally blank. Sometimes I would witness it too, which was extremely damaging from a young age. She would be around certain substances, if you know what I mean. And a lot of older men and gang members came around too. One time there was this old man standing outside the car and he had say, "Hey, come here." And I had said no and he literally picked me up and tried to bring me in. But my mom came out with a baseball bat and ended up hitting him on the head and he ran away. So she saved me, but still. So flash forward to 13 years old. I met a girl named Amelia. She was my best friend and she helped me figure this all out. So one time I invited her over to my house. She examines her surroundings a lot, but she noticed a really weird folder on my mother's desk. It had this weird logo with my name on it. Running out of time. My own mother tried to blank me off to a blank ring. Part 2. So my best friend Amelia ended up picking my mother's folder on the table with a really weird logo on it. And inside was a child application form. And it had $60 inside of it. It included my social security number, medical forms, and the next paper had a bunch of random phone numbers on it with Russian lettering. We obviously both didn't read or speak Russian, so the next day at school we decided to translate it, and it was a huge organization ring, specifically for blanks, from ages of 3 to 15. She asked me to go to the police in the future about 3 days from that day, and I decided to take her advice. One time I was home when this old man was talking to my mom while I was supposed to be sleeping. He was talking about blanking me, along with other blanks, and that they'd have a lot of customers thanks to me. The next day I looked back in the folder and all my information was in the book, but she ended up taking photos of me. I can't say because of TikTok. But the next day I immediately called Amelia. Come back for part 3. My own mother tried to blank me off to a blank ring. Part 3. So the next day I looked back in the folder and all of my information was in the book. Like from my blood type to my weight to my height to my body type. She ended up taking pictures of me while I was asleep. Can't say because of TikTok, but it will be on my YouTube channel. So I immediately texted Amelia that we need to go to the police sooner, and she said why. The next day at school I brought the folder and we ended up going to the police together. Child Protective Services ended up coming to my house and taking me away. A family surprisingly adopted me pretty quickly, but I've never spoken to my mom since then. A couple of months ago she did reach out though, but I'm not really sure. Do you think the person in the story should talk to her mother again? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to submit your own story time, make sure to click the link in my bio, which is the beacon links, and click the icon that says Storytime Submissions. The full uncensored video will be on my YouTube channel. Just be sure to check it out. Follow for more story times.
Seems every time I take a drink, I'm reaching out for you. Seems I'm always late night texting, reaching out for you. Every morning I find drunken messages spilling the truth on you.
My older brother is a bit of a bum. It's mean to say, but it's true. He can never hang on to a job for longer than a couple of years max, and when he inevitably loses whatever job he had, he starts mooching off family and friends until he can find another job months later. This entails freeloading at their place, eating their food, using their stuff, etc. He's lost friends because of how long he bummed off them, and I don't blame them for cutting him off. This last time he lost his job, he went to our parents. Still, they didn't have room because they were letting our eldest brother's family stay with them after he and sister-in-law lost their jobs out of nowhere within the same month. Eldest brother's entire crew was laid off with zero warning and sister-in-law's work burned down. They couldn't afford the home they were renting anymore, so our parents, aunt and uncle all started calling me, asking him if I'd take him in just long enough so he could get on his feet again. I stupidly let myself feel bad for him and said okay, but he only had a few months to get another job or he was out on the street. They all said, of course, and so he came to stay with me, and it was a nightmare. He's a slob. He never washes dishes, never washes his clothes, and eats pretty much whatever he wants. So I guess since I'm his little sister, he figured he could ignore me saying to get his act together. Well, after 6 months, I told him he had to go and gave him a couple of weeks to find somewhere else. Well, it seems he called our parents and cried about me kicking him out, and they told him he knew he couldn't stay forever, but they also, of course, called my aunts and uncle and told them all about it, and my busybody aunt called me and scolded me for being cruel to my brother and abandoning family when they need help. I let her talk and finally said she was right, helping family was important, and I'm glad she showed me that. She seemed delighted I understood the right thing to do before hanging up, so I followed her advice, packed my bro up and drove him to her house. Of course, I couldn't take care of him anymore. He was running all my bills up, but my aunt made a good point. A family should help each other. So I dropped him off there. She has room since all her kids moved out, and then left. But I wasn't even halfway home before getting multiple calls from my parents and aunt. Parents demanded to know why our aunt was blowing up their phones, and aunt was leaving voicemails shouting at me to come back and get my brother. I explained to my parents, and they said it was a good idea since aunt sounded like she wanted help, but my aunt called me an idiot and said she didn't want my brother there. And when I told her family helps each other, she called me a nasty idiot. Last I checked, he's still living with her. Am I the idiot? Edit. My brother doesn't work menial jobs. He's not just hopping from one minimum wage job to another. He's working very good paying jobs, like electronic repair, automotive maintenance, etc. He's very skilled, but lazy. He was upset I was kicking him out initially, but in a better mood when he realised I had another place lined up for him to stay. I'm not sure how they're doing together since I haven't talked to either since I dropped him off. Also, my aunt isn't married anymore. She and my uncle got divorced, and he lives with his new wife. But I heard from Dad that he thought this was all hilarious. Yes, someone finally took action and dropped the mooch off to the family member who loves to scold but not help. You are absolutely iconic. Oh, and your parents agreed that the nosy aunt, who should have minded a damn business, should help? Double iconic. This is the best thing I've read today. What a queen. Yes, you are, Mom. Good job for being kind enough to give him a chance or for being strong enough to boot him out when you were fed up. People love to point out problems but offer no solutions. You did an awesome job of ensuring that your aunt was part of the solution. I'm sorry you have that kind of sibling to deal with, and it was obviously horrible having him stay with you, but your action had me laughing my head off. I'm cracking up at your aunt thinking she got you to do what she wanted, but her words backfired on her. Well done, OP. A clear case of not the idiot as there ever has been. My town is very small and we only have one dog park around here. Most dog owners know each other at this point. This dog park is very safe and organised. They have a vet nurse office nearby and it's separated into two sections, one for smaller dogs and one for bigger dogs. I have two dogs, one weenie and a pit bull mix. My fiancé had taken our weenie to the smaller section of the park and I had our pit bull at the bigger section. The dogs there were all running around being playful and messy. At some point, a woman comes at the bigger section of the park and sits there with her kids, while also letting her kids play in dog activities and toys. There was something like a dog slide, and she'd let her kids go there, and she'd get mad when people had their dogs on the slide, and would yell at them to make space for her kids. Finally, several owners reminded her this was a dog park. She didn't leave, but she sat on a bench. At some point, some dogs were running around playing and her kids were running after the dogs, and one dog pushed a kid while running and threw the kid to the ground. The lady started asking for the owner, and once she found the owner, she started screaming at her about letting her dog trip her kid. She kept screaming, and everyone was trying to be kind, and at some point, another owner and I started matching her energy and yelling at her, telling her that her kids do not belong in a dog park and she should pick them up and get off. She left after 5 minutes while threatening to sue the dog owner. I discussed this with my fiancé's sister and her husband that same night when they visited us. They claimed I was being an idiot for yelling at a lady for being concerned that her kid got hurt by a dog and claimed that my fiancé and I need a reality check if we defend dogs over kids getting hurt. Am I the idiot? How does stuff like this happen? While reading this, I actually quite literally can't wrap my head around why things like this happen in the real world. She brings her kids to the dog park and yells at dog owners for their dogs getting in the way. You matched her energy with another dog owner, and of course you would because what the heck? I'd say not the idiot because she honestly truly needs a wake-up call. My God. Who the heck brings kids to a dog park with no dog? Then proceeds to be angry about dogs at the dog park. I wouldn't take my dog to a regular park and complain about kids playing with or petting my dog. If a kid climbs my fence and meets my dog, I'm not going to be concerned more about that kid than my dog either. This lady just wanted her kids to have play equipment without other kids around and expected you all to keep the dogs far away to avoid confrontation. She was sorely mistaken. Not the idiot, OP, it's a dog park. Kids don't belong here. Everyone's the idiot here. Mostly the lady that ignored it was a dog park, obviously, but what was going on was really none of your business. Yes, she was wrong, but she wasn't yelling at you, and you piling on and screaming at her while cussing didn't help anything. You noticed her and watched from the very beginning. If you wanted to help, you should have stepped back and called the police or authorities right away. You can't say it wasn't your place to call because you thought it was your place to get in her face.
The skyline is jealous. I'm looking at you, how you shine. The most beautiful time. The most beautiful time.
My sister-in-law is 2 months pregnant, and she's due a week after my wedding date. We've saved the date and booked every venue about it since May last year. These days, booking a wedding can be really hard since everyone is rescheduling after 2 years of constant postponements. My sister-in-law announced that she was 2 months pregnant last week. She also said her due date. We congratulated her and we're really excited. After a few days, yesterday, we met with her again, and she said she wanted to sit my husband and me down and discuss the cancellation or postponement of our wedding because of her due date. We were shocked and surprised since we never discussed or even implied the wedding would be postponed. We kindly told her that we wouldn't cancel the wedding and we won't be mad if she won't be able to make it because her due date would be close. She said she wouldn't accept not attending her brother's wedding, so we have to make it work and look for another date. We explained we can't do it right now since every other date will be booked, and if we cancel or postpone, the next wedding date available is a half a year later. She said, fine, so be it, we should book it for then. My fiancé and I clearly cannot and will not postpone. We've already prepaid some aspects of our vendors, and we won't get all of our money back if we cancel. Also, I'm going to be honest, we don't want to cancel or postpone either. The wedding has been booked for so long, we've almost finished all preparations for it, so we'll have the last few months before the wedding more relaxing and chill. Also, my sister-in-law doesn't have an active role in the wedding. She's the groom's sister, but she has no duties she'll have to carry out. She can attend and sit in a chair to feel more comfortable and leave whenever she gets tired. She can also choose not to attend if she doesn't feel comfortable. Even if she had duties, I find it perfectly reasonable for her to back out. My in-laws have all gotten involved now, and they're trying to pressure us to postpone the wedding because if we don't, my sister-in-law will probably not attend, and she thinks it's unfair not to be present at her brother's wedding. My fiancé and I have not changed our minds, but my sister-in-law claims we are very selfish for not thinking about her feelings too and changing the date. Am I the idiot for not postponing or cancelling the wedding? Ha ha, I'd have said, well, sister-in-law, why didn't you consider our wedding date when you conceived the baby? Is any of the family who's pressuring you going to pay the cancellation fees to move a wedding to another day? I doubt it. You're not the idiot. Wedding is booked. I hope you both have a lovely day. Remember, it's your special day, no one else's. But holy heck, why is everyone enabling sister-in-law? That seems like an issue all on its own. It sucks she won't be able to attend, but these things happen and she'll just have to accept it. Maybe someone can live stream for her if it's essential to keep the peace, perhaps. One of my groomsmen ended up hospitalized the day of our wedding back in September. His wife was a bridesmaid, and of course she had to be by his side. It was really easy to get a phone stand, set up a Zoom link, and have someone press play, and they managed to be a part of our day even when they couldn't physically attend. It's so easy these days. Yes, this is exactly what Zoom is for. There's a reason she dared to shame OP for not cancelling her wedding for her sake, and that the parents thought this was a reasonable suggestion. I mean, seriously, I'd be embarrassed ever to assume anyone would postpone an entire wedding just for me. So in other words, this isn't really about the importance of sister-in-law attending your wedding as much as it's about sister-in-law wanting all of the attention for herself. So I, 25 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 25, for a little over a year. Due to the fact he doesn't live near his family and the world situation, I haven't met his family yet. They travelled to him for his 25th birthday and he asked me to meet them. I was of course excited about this and readily agreed, though I stressed he had to tell me about them. I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user, which means I do have some limited mobility, but I rely on my chair quite a bit. I didn't want them surprised when they met me, and I kept stressing to him that he had to tell them about me. I didn't specifically say that he should say about the chair, but I figured that was a given. I was wrong, however, as when I wheeled out to meet with them, their faces fell and they were clearly shocked, and things quickly became awkward. Later on, during the birthday celebrations, I had to field some questions that made me very uncomfortable, and when they found out I had limited mobility, they were so relieved that honestly I felt very upset as I have limited mobility now, but that may not be the case in the future. There were even some jokes from his brother when he found the rail at the toilet my boyfriend had installed to use the bathroom at his. The real issue happened though when his mother asked if I was able to have kids then, and I told her that was very personal and none of her business. She got very defensive and told me she was just wondering if her son and I decided to have kids one day, if we'd have to adopt, etc. I won't lie, I got pretty upset and told her we hadn't discussed kids yet and that it was up to us in the future. I ended up leaving with my boyfriend following me, trying to make me come back, telling me I was overreacting and his family was just surprised and being nosy. When I asked him why he didn't tell them I used a wheelchair, he told me he hadn't thought it was necessary, that he told them about me as a person and the chair wasn't part of me. I told him, like it or not, it was a part of me, and he should have given them a heads up. This was yesterday, and I'm honestly still very upset by this. He keeps texting me and telling me his family didn't mean to upset me, but I've not answered him yet. Am I wrong to be upset that he'd keep this from them, which led to this situation? Not the idiot. He should have told them as you requested. The questions his family asked are classic ableism, and telling them in advance would have saved you the trouble of them pestering you all weekend. And more than that, he shouldn't have said your chair wasn't part of you. That gives me big overcome your disability vibes. I'm so sorry. OMG, not the idiot. The comments about kids? What? That is your business, no matter what. That question alone justifies you leaving in a huff. They don't want your boyfriend to be tied to a broken woman who uses a wheelchair, who can't have intimacy or can't bear children, and needs 24/7 help from her future husband. That is why they were relieved to know you're only an ambulatory wheelchair user. Unfortunately, it means you're just a little broken. I hope you can hear the anger I'm writing this with. Your boyfriend and his family are major idiots, though. Even if you hadn't requested they be told ahead of time to lessen your discomfort, their reaction and his comments were totally out of line and disrespectful. I'm still working on this myself, but please know you are never obligated to answer nosy questions, no matter who is asking, if you aren't comfortable with it. My husband, 48, and I, 38 female, were at the shopping mall to do errands. We had to pick up some dry cleaning and tailored items and do some grocery shopping. The problem is, they're both at opposite ends of the shopping centre, so instead of wasting time and doing it together, we both decided to split up, and after I collected the dry cleaning and put it in the car, I would go to the grocery store and finish up the shopping with him. I collected the clothes, put them in the car, and walked to the grocery store. And guess who walks out the exact moment I get to the entrance? My husband. He tells me that he finished in record time and that he doesn't get what takes me so long when normally I do the shopping. I'm a stay-at-home mom who usually does the weekly shop. I asked him if he got everything on the list I sent him. He said yes. We get home and I find out that he didn't get the pads for our teen daughter and me. I asked him if he had forgotten, and he just told me that buying sanitary products wasn't his job and that there were so many options and he didn't know. This got me angry because I gave him the link to the specific one in the list and a picture, and he still couldn't get it. I asked him why he was weaponizing his incompetence, and he just left the room after telling me to stop using buzzwords and take some accountability. I yelled back at him that he was a useless husband who couldn't do a simple shop. He thinks I'm an idiot for not being responsible for my daughter and I's products and calling him useless. Am I the idiot? Edit. Pads were not out of stock. The grocery store website has the product marked as in stock at that store. My husband saw that pads were on the list and just skipped them, not bothering to even go into the aisle. Not the idiot. You're completely correct about weaponized incompetence. Either that or he's a complete idiot. Plus the fact he put you down, saying, I don't understand why you take so long to shop. He didn't even try. He can claim ignorance when it comes to feminine hygiene products, but my view is when you're a man with a daughter, your ignorance is no longer cute. It's irresponsible. If you have a daughter and you're ignorant of their particular issues, you damn well better learn. What if, God forbid, something happens to you? Is he just going to say, oh well, she'll just have to go buy them herself? And it doesn't even have to be that worst-case scenario. Suppose you're out of town for a few days, or you're sick and can't do the shopping. Your husband is completely in the wrong. He has a daughter, and it's now his job to get savvy regarding his daughter's needs. I once saw a teenage lad standing in front of the sanitary products in the supermarket, clearly panicking. I stopped to ask if he was okay, and he told me his mum had broken her leg and couldn't get to the shops. She told him what to buy, but he couldn't find the right thing. It turned out that the ones she wanted were out, so I helped him find something similar. He'd been standing there for nearly 40 minutes, unable to approach a strange woman for information about menstrual products, poor lad. He was 15 and still more of a man than your husband. I feel sorry for your daughter, Opie.